Okay, so have you ever had that feeling, like you should be better with money, like really understand it all, you want to feel secure, right?
Yeah.
But like you don't even know where to start.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like trying to put together those like IKEA bookshelves, but you're missing half the instructions and some screws.
Totally. And the book we're looking at today, it really gets that. It has this line that says, Joey, like it's talking to someone, you don't know the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA.
Right, exactly.
And it's that feeling. We all get it. Like, where do we even begin with this stuff? So that's exactly what we're doing today, a deep dive. We went through I Will Teach You to Be Rich and pulled out the important stuff, the things that like really matter. It's your cheat sheet to finances.
Totally. And you know what I love about this book? It doesn't feel like a textbook. Like it talks to you like a real person. And it promises to help you build this system for your money that basically like runs itself.
Oh, yeah. The automatic infrastructure.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're aiming for here, to give you the best advice on saving, budgeting, credit, and investing so you can grow your money over time without, pulling your hair out.
Absolutely. Efficiency is key. So where should we start? Well, one of the biggest things that holds people back, right, is just getting started.
Oh, yeah, I feel that.
Finances can seem so overwhelming, It's like, ugh, I don't even want to think about it.
Right, you just put it off. And the author, he even admits this. He knew opening an investment account was a good idea.
Right.
But he just kept making excuses. He was like, oh, there's probably so much paperwork, and what if I choose the wrong investments? It's that fear, right?
Oh, totally. The fear of the unknown. But here's the thing. He also talks about how important it is to just take those first steps and to automate as much as possible. It's like building a system that takes care of itself.
Right, like set it and forget it.
Exactly. So takeaway number 1, set up your financial autopilot, automate those savings and payments, and then go live your life, do the things you actually enjoy.
Now, when it comes to actually making your money grow, the author has some pretty strong opinions on what works and what's just a distraction. He talks about this idea of like the difference between being sexy and being rich.
Yeah. This is so important. You hear all this hype, right? About like the hottest stock or some crazy trading strategy.
Right, like get rich quick schemes.
Totally. But the book is all about slow and steady, real wealth. It's built on consistency. It's about buying and holding, which I'll admit isn't that exciting to talk about.
Right, no one's making a movie about that. But the author says, well, I bought a few solid funds 5 years ago and haven't touched them since, except to automatically invest a bit more regularly.
Boom. Mic drop.
Exactly. No fancy tricks, just consistency.
And if you look at the research, this buy and hold strategy, it's what really works in the long run. All that short-term trading, chasing those hot stocks, for most people, it's just not effective.
So remember, investing isn't the game. It's about putting your money to work over time and letting it grow. The author even says you only need to look at your investments every 6 months or so.
Yep. No need to check it every day. Now let's talk about how we spend the money we actually have. The book has this really cool concept called conscious spending.
This is something I actually started doing. It's not about like depriving yourself. It's about spending freely on the things you really love and being strict about cutting back on the things you don't.
Exactly. You choose where your money goes.
Like, ask yourself, is this worth my money?
Yeah.
And if it's not, cut it out.
So what are you currently spending on without even thinking about it? Be intentional.
And there's this great example in the book about the author's friend, Jim. So Jim got a raise at work, right? And then he moved into a smaller apartment.
Wait, what?
I know, right? But it was because he didn't care about living in a fancy place. What he really loved was camping and biking. So he spent his money on the gear for that.
Awesome. He aligned his spending with his values.
Exactly. That's conscious spending. Now, something else that's super important is your credit.
Oh, yeah, credit. It can be a bit of a mystery, but it can save you a lot of money.
Tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. The author really stresses how understanding your credit report and credit score is key. These might not be the most exciting topics, but they can make a huge difference in the interest rates you get on loans.
A good credit score is like having a VIP pass to better financial deals. And it's surprisingly easy to check. You can get a free credit report every year at, what's the website again?
It's www.annualcreditreport.com. Write that down, folks.
And your actual credit score. It might cost you a little, like $15, but it's worth it.
Think about it. Good credit means lower interest rates on big things. Weddings, buying a house, a new car, even those tiny baby clothes somehow cost a fortune.
It's true. And good credit can help you save on all of that. Now, what about credit cards? People have strong opinions about those.
Yeah. But the book has a balanced view. It says they can be really useful if you're responsible.
Responsible being the key word.
Right? They're convenient, and a lot of them have great rewards programs. But, and this is a big but, you have to pay your balance in full every single month.
Otherwise, those interest charges will sneak up on you.
Seriously. And don't go crazy getting a million credit cards. 2 or 3 is usually enough for most people.
Exactly. You want enough available credit, but not so much that it becomes overwhelming.
And have you ever heard of credit utilization?
Oh, yeah, that's an important one.
It's the amount of credit you're using compared to your total credit limit. Keeping that low is super important for your credit score.
Think of it like this. Your credit limit is a bucket, and the amount of credit you're using, that's the water level. You want to keep that water level low.
Makes sense.
Yep.
And you know what the book says to avoid? That 0% balance transfer thing.
Yeah, it sounds tempting, but honestly, it can be more trouble than it's worth. You might save a little on intro, but it takes a lot of effort, and there's always the risk of messing something up.
Right. And definitely watch out for those store credit cards. You know, the ones they offer you at the checkout.
Oh, yeah, they can have crazy high interest rates.
And the rewards aren't usually that great. It's not worth it.
Now, here's a tip that might sound a little weird. The book says that getting more credit can actually be good for your score. But here's the catch. It only works if you're completely debt-free and you always pay your bills on time. It helps lower that credit utilization we talked about.
Oh, I see. And don't forget about those credit card rewards, those cashback programs and travel points.
Yeah.
They can add up to serious savings. The author says he saved over $600 on a flight just by using his travel rewards.
Nice. And for those with really good credit, like a score of 750 or higher,
Yeah.
the book suggests calling your credit card companies and lenders once a year.
Like actually call them.
Yep. Just ask if they have any special deals for good customers, like promotions or waived fees. It can't hurt to ask.
Good point. And another tip, if you're thinking about buying a house or a car soon, don't close any credit card accounts in the months leading up to that. Lenders like to see that you have access to credit.
Makes you look more reliable. Now, let's talk about something that can be a bit scary. Debt, especially credit card debt and student loans.
Ugh, yeah, debt. Nobody likes that word.
But the book makes this really good point. It says most people don't get into serious debt overnight. It happens gradually over time.
Right. It sneaks up on you.
But the good news is that even if you have a lot of credit card debt, it's usually manageable. You just need a plan and the discipline to stick to it.
Consistency is key. And there's this example in the book, Dumb Dan versus Smart Sally.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
So they both have credit card debt, but Smart Sally pays just $200 extra each month. And guess what? It saves her tons of money in interest and helps her pay off her debt way faster.
It really shows you the power of those extra payments, even if they're small. And to make it easier on yourself, automate those payments. You'll avoid late fees and those pesky finance charges.
The author even talks about how being a deadbeat is a good thing.
Wait, a deadbeat?
That's what credit card companies call people who pay their balance in full every month. They're not making any money off them in interest. So aim to be a deadbeat.
That's a good one. But being realistic is important. Paying off debt takes time and effort. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right. Now, what about student loans? Those can be a real burden.
Definitely. But even paying a little extra each month can make a huge difference. There's an example in the book about someone with $20,000 in student loans. They paid just $100 extra every month, and it saved them thousands in interest and shortened their loan term by years.
Wow, that's motivating.
Right. And the book really recommends reaching out to your lenders, see what options you have, like consolidating your loans, and ask them specifically how paying extra would affect your loan. You might be surprised.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about our bank accounts. This might seem basic, but it's important.
Oh, it's crucial. And the thing to avoid at all costs, overdraft fees.
Ooh, those are the worst.
Yeah.
There's this story in the book about Elizabeth. She racked up $400 in overdraft fees in college, just from not keeping track of her balance.
Ouch. That's painful.
Right. So at the very least, you should have a checking account and a savings account. And make sure they're not charging you crazy fees for just having them.
Exactly. The book suggests what he calls basic option plus small optimization.
Itchy.
So you have a no-fee checking account at a local bank. easy to access your money, and then a high-yield savings account online where you can earn more interest.
And don't get caught up in what the author calls the rate-chasing trap.
Oh, yeah. It's tempting to keep switching banks for a slightly higher interest rate.
Right, but is it really worth the hassle? Probably not.
Exactly. Focus on finding a bank you like and trust, and stick with them. Now, ready for a topic that can feel a little intimidating?
Bring it on.
Investing in retirement accounts.
Oh, I can already feel my eyes glazing over.
I get it. But it's not as scary as it seems. The author talks about how he didn't open his first investment account until he was 23, because he didn't even realize he should. And then he thought he didn't have enough money anyway.
That's a common misconception. People think investing is only for, like, rich people.
Right. But the truth is, the earlier you start, the better, even if you can only invest small amounts. It's all about the power of compound interest. That's where the magic happens.
Compound interest is like the snowball effect of investing.
Exactly. So let's talk about a great way to start. 401k. They're awesome because you invest pre-tax money, which can save you a lot on taxes, and a lot of employers offer a matching contribution.
That's like free money, right?
Exactly. So contribute as much as you can to your 401k, especially if your employer offers a match. Take advantage of that.
Then there are Roth IRAs. They're a little different.
Yeah. With a Roth, you contribute money you've already paid taxes on.
So you're paying taxes now, but then all the growth is tax-free, and you don't pay taxes when you take the money out in retirement.
Exactly. And just like with the 401k, contribute as much as you can, as early as you can.
And here's the good thing to remember about Roth IRAs. You can always withdraw the money you put in, your contributions, at any time without any penalty.
That's a nice safety net.
Right. Now, if you know you'll need the money in less than 5 years, the book recommends keeping it in a high-interest savings account instead. Retirement accounts aren't the best for short-term goals.
Right. They're meant for the long haul. Now, if you're ready to max out those Roth IRA contributions, there's a pretty simple way to calculate your limit based on your income and the IRS rules for that year.
It's all online, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, set up those automatic contributions, just like we talked about before.
Automation is king.
Now, once you've maxed out your 401k and Roth IRA, there are other investment options to explore. But for now, let's focus on those basics.
Good plan. Now, I know a lot of people struggle with budgeting. It can feel so restrictive, like counting every penny.
Oh, totally. The author gets that. That's why he came up with the conscious spending plan.
Sounds intriguing.
The idea is that instead of tracking every tiny expense, you allocate percentages of your take-home pay to different categories.
Like different buckets for your money.
Exactly. You have a bucket for fixed costs, like rent and utilities, one for your long-term investments, one for savings goals, and importantly, one for guilt-free spending on things you love.
I like that part. So it's not about deprivation, it's about choice.
Exactly. The book suggests investing at least 10% of your take-home pay for the long term. And when it comes to savings goals, be realistic.
Don't overwhelm yourself.
Exactly. For example, let's say you want to save $900 for Christmas gifts each year. That might sound like a lot. But if you break it down, it's just $75 a month. Much more manageable, right?
Totally. And the book emphasizes focusing on the big wins, meaning the areas where you spend the most money.
Like eating out or transportation. If you can make changes there, it'll have a much bigger impact than obsessing over, like, that $5 latte.
Right. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Exactly. And every time you make a choice to save money, connect it back to your goals. That $5 you saved by making coffee at home, that's $5 closer to that trip you're saving for.
Motivation.
The best part of the conscious spending plan, you can still enjoy spending on things that are important to you. You just do it mindfully.
Makes sense. Now, how do we make all this easier? I'm all about making things easy.
Automation. It's your best friend.
Yep.
It makes managing your money so much less work over time.
Like having a personal assistant for your finances.
Exactly. So, first things first. Write down all your account numbers and keep them in a safe place.
This seems simple, but I bet a lot of people don't actually do it.
It's so helpful, though. It makes setting up those automatic transfers so much easier. So, next step, automate everything you can. Set up recurring contributions to your savings and investment accounts.
Set it and forget it.
And automate your bill payments, too. Even if you can only automate a small amount to savings at first, like $5 or $10 a week, that's a great start.
Every bit counts.
Here's a tip. Try setting up your savings transfer for the 1st of the month and your Roth IRA contribution for the 5th.
Okay, I'm writing this down.
And don't forget to check your credit card statements every week. Look for any errors or weird charges. The author compares his receipts to his online transactions to make sure everything matches up.
Smart. Now, what about all that confusing financial advice out there?
It can be so overwhelming. The book has some strong opinions about that. First of all, you don't always need a financial advisor, especially if your finances are pretty straightforward.
A lot of people can manage their money themselves.
Exactly. But if you do need help, the book recommends looking for fee-based advisors. They charge you a fee for their services instead of getting commissions on the products they sell.
Makes sense. That way they're actually working for you.
Exactly. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The fear of investing. A lot of people think it's too risky.
Investing can feel really intimidating, especially if you don't know a lot about it.
The author says that fear is often an emotional reaction, not a logical one.
Interesting.
He even quotes Warren Buffett, who famously said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful."
So basically, don't follow the crowd blindly.
Exactly. Think for yourself. Now, one of the most important things to understand about investing, it's called asset allocation.
Asset allocation. Sounds complicated.
It just means the mix of different investments you have, like stocks and bonds. It's the biggest factor in how your investments will perform over time.
So for someone who's younger and has more time to invest, they might have a higher percentage of their money in stocks, which are generally riskier but have the potential for higher returns.
Right. But someone closer to retirement, they might want a higher percentage in bonds, which are less risky but might not grow as fast.
Got it. And to quickly recap, stocks represent ownership in companies, while bonds are essentially loans to governments or corporations.
Yeah. And you'll often hear about stock market indexes like the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. Those track the performance of a group of stocks.
So the higher the number, the better the market is doing, generally speaking.
Exactly. And over the long term, the stock market has historically returned about 8% per year on average.
Okay, that's actually pretty good.
Right. Now, another really important concept, diversification.
I've heard that word before.
It just means spreading your investments across different asset classes. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It helps to manage your risk.
So if one investment does poorly, the others can help balance things out.
Exactly. Now, a really important thing to keep in mind about investing. There's a relationship between risk and potential reward.
Makes sense. Like the riskier the investment, the higher the potential reward, but also the higher the chance of losing money.
Exactly. Your investment strategy should always take that into account. How much risk are you comfortable with? That'll depend on your age, your goals, and your personal tolerance for risk.
Got it. Now let's talk about mutual funds. What are those exactly?
They're like a basket of different stocks or bonds managed by a professional investment company. They can be a good way to diversify your investments.
Sounds convenient.
It is, but watch out for the fees. They can really eat into your returns over time. Look for funds with low expense ratios.
The lower the better, right?
Absolutely. And the book recommends low-cost index funds. They're designed to track a specific market index, like the S&P 500.
So you're basically investing in the overall performance of the market.
Exactly. And index funds tend to perform better than actively managed funds over the long term, and they have lower fees. Win-win.
Okay, where can I get these index funds?
They're usually offered by major brokerage firms. You can open an account online and start investing with a relatively small amount. And of course, set up those automatic contributions.
Automation for the win. Now, what if you want something even simpler?
There are life cycle funds, also called target date funds.
Life cycle funds. Tell me more.
They're like the set it and forget it option of investing. They automatically adjust your investments over time, getting more conservative as you get closer to retirement.
So you don't have to worry about rebalancing your portfolio yourself.
Exactly. They do it for you. For Roth IRAs, life cycle funds are a great option. If you want more control, though, you can stick with individual index funds.
Good to know. Now, what was that thing the author mentioned about David Swenson's investment strategy?
Oh, yeah. He's the guy who manages the Yale Endowment, and he has a pretty famous asset allocation model. It's a bit more advanced, but it's something you can look into as your portfolio grows.
Okay, I'll add that to my reading list. Now, what if I want to know more about the asset allocation of a specific fund?
Morningstar has a great tool called Instant X-ray.
Instant X-ray. Sounds intense.
It's really helpful. You can see exactly what a fund is invested in. And another important concept the book talks about is dollar cost averaging.
Dollar cost averaging. I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah. It just means investing a set amount of money at regular intervals.
Okay.
So you're not trying to time the market. You're just consistently investing over time.
That takes the guesswork out of it. So what's the best way to supercharge our financial progress?
Look for ways to increase your savings rate and your earnings. It's a double whammy.
I like it.
So be proactive about negotiating better deals on big purchases. Really look at your expenses and cut anything that you don't actually need.
Like those subscription boxes I never use.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for a raise at work or look for a higher paying job. Every little bit helps.
And once you've got your investments set up and they're running smoothly.
Tune out the noise.
Meaning?
All that financial news and those crazy headlines, they're designed to get you emotional and make you doubt your strategy.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the hype.
Exactly. Stick to your plan. It's about the long game, remember? Now, let's talk about real-world situations, specifically managing money in relationships.
Ah, yes, the money talk.
It can be tough, but it's so important. Be open and honest with your partner about money. Talk about your financial goals, your spending habits, everything.
Communication is key in any relationship, but especially when it comes to finances.
Absolutely. Work together to create a budget you both agree on. And set some financial goals together.
Like a vacation.
Exactly. Or saving for a house. And speaking of big expenses, if you're planning a wedding,
Oh boy, those can get expensive.
be realistic about the costs.
Don't go into debt for one day.
And when you start a new job,
Time to negotiate that salary.
you got it. The best time to negotiate is when you're first offered the job. Do your research and know what you're worth.
And don't be afraid to walk away if the offer isn't good enough.
Exactly. Know your worth. And when you do achieve those financial wins, like getting a raise or paying off a debt,
Celebrate.
celebrate modestly. Don't let lifestyle creep take over.
Meaning?
Don't immediately start spending more just because you're making more. Put that extra money to good use. Increase your savings or your investments.
Smart. Now let's talk about big purchases. Specifically, buying a car and buying a house.
Two of the biggest decisions most people will make in their lives.
So for cars, the book says to do your research, know what kind of car you want, what it costs, and what you can afford.
And get your financing in order before you go to the dealership.
That's a good tip, so you're not pressured into their financing options.
Exactly. And be prepared to negotiate the price of the car, not just the monthly payments.
So good point.
And don't be afraid to walk away if you're not happy with the deal.
Easier said than done.
I know, but it's important to remember you have the power. Now, buying a house, it's a whole other beast.
It can be so overwhelming.
It's all about being prepared.
So what should we do first?
Research the housing market in your area. Figure out what you can realistically afford. Save a big down payment.
How big are we talking?
Aim for 20% if you can. That'll help you avoid something called private mortgage insurance.
Which is an extra cost, right?
Yeah, exactly. And work on improving your credit score before you start house hunting.
So important.
And when you're ready for a mortgage, shop around and compare rates from different lenders.
Don't just go with the first one you find.
Right. And check for first-time homebuyer programs. They can offer some really helpful benefits.
Great tips. So let's wrap things up. What are the key takeaways from our deep dive?
Okay, so big picture. Automation is your friend. It makes managing your money so much easier.
Set it and forget it.
And be conscious about your spending. Spend money on what you love and cut back on what you don't.
Right. It's about making choices that align with your values. And don't underestimate the power of good credit. It can save you a lot of money in the long run.
It's true. And start investing early. Even if you can only invest a little bit at first, it'll pay off in the long run.
Compound interest is magic. And don't get distracted by all the noise out there. Stick to your plan.
We hope this deep dive has given you some solid information and actionable steps to take control of your finances.
We want you to feel confident and empowered.
It's all about building a solid financial foundation.
Now, for our final thought, we want you to think about this. What is one thing you learned today that you can start doing right now? It doesn't have to be big. Just one small step towards building your own automatic infrastructure for wealth.
Think about what's most important to you, your goals, your dreams.
What do you want your money to do for you? And how can these principles we talked about today help you get there?
It's all about creating a life you love.
A life where you feel financially secure and free to pursue your passions.
Exactly.
That's the ultimate goal, right?